This is the MDRT podcast. Regulation, technology, and weaknesses in service can all identify opportunities to make adjustments in your business. During a recent conversation at MDRT headquarters,
Mathieu, Manchester, New Hampshire.
Dominique Schuh, Gympie, Australia.
Andy Lord, Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
discussed how they have adapted their business plan to meet their changing needs.
Here in the States, we have a new initiative. It seems like we learn these things from the Australians and they come flying across the globe, but it's called the Department of Labor Initiative. And it's the same deal, same concept, different story, same disease, different symptom. How do we have interactions with clients and announce that we have this new expense and therefore have to change the terms of our engagement financially? And that can really affect the business plan and make for difficult conversations with clients. I call this training, my MDRT training, all these years of involvement. I started my business out like many other people, making a commitment to the client and letting them know, looking them in the eye, shaking their hand, letting them know that as long as I was in this industry, I was there to serve. And that's been the case. We have some very, very small kind of legacy accounts that if we were a publicly traded company as CEO, I would have been fired a long time ago. And I have one particular example of a client who's retired, doing well, but the regulations and the resources that we had to go out and attain to be able to match up to the regulations caused an increase in our minimum revenue, to break even. This isn't a profit center. This is just to cover expenses. That increase was a 50% surcharge to her, which she quickly pointed out. I understand what's going on here, but that's a 50% increase. Is that really necessary? So you get the friction there. And I guess it didn't cause me to change my business plan, but it made me realize how difficult my business plan is going to be to execute when it comes to personal relationships.
I would say if I look back into the last year, when I think about technology, one of the things that I brought in a group of clients and kind of asked them to review our service and our process and everything else. And one of the things that they wanted was more communication from us. And so I'm using technology as a way to reach out to them routinely through video email, as well as regular newsletter emails that we send on out. So it's really been kind of fun to give them more information about what's happening in our firm and that sort of thing. And so what's really been memorable is just the feedback that I'm getting from my clients, I think, because they know us better as a result of us communicating more, and it's spurring on more conversations and more referrals. So I would say that the implementation of the technology that we're using has been a bonus for us as far as improving those client relationships.
What are you saying to them, and what comes out of that?
I can give you two examples just recently. One was the recent Equifax data dump that happened, the theft of personal data, where we used almost instantly, we were able to get an email out. We did a video email out that educated our clients about where they can go with links to the various resources to help them with information. And so right away, within a day of us getting that, we had a valuable email and a tool that people could use. And so I got a lot of calls from clients afterwards talking to me about that, and they really appreciated that outreach. So that's one example of it. I think another example is us sharing our successes of what's happening in our office. So for example, at the beginning of the year, we had a general personal goal setting, and we were on the Team Legacy Weight Challenge for the first 6 months. And so we announced the winner with the before and after picture and sent that out. And the whole base was really excited to see the young man that finished with his weight loss, the before and after pictures. He got cards in the mail, he had phone calls from clients, and every client that came in to see congratulated him on his success. So it really brought our personal things that you think might not be important to your clients, so they love to hear those success stories of what's going on personally at the office.
I would say in my case, one thing that we did identify through the business planning process was that we were okay at looking after the affairs of, say, the older generation in a family, but not necessarily that good at managing any kind of wealth transfer if and when the older generation passed away and the kids inherited the money. So on a couple of occasions, we've been able to, just by literally going through the client base and identifying opportunities, start that process or be a part of that process of the wealth transfer sooner than what would have otherwise occurred if we had not done anything. So for one family in particular, we identified that there would be a fairly big tax loss to the family if nothing happened for the parents in their current superannuation fund if they passed away. So that's similar to a 401k fund or a pension account. So we were able to start withdrawing the parents' funds from their retirement account and passing it on to the younger generation, where we were able to be part of managing those assets for them, but it ended up saving that family like over $500,000 in tax. So it's a fairly significant benefit from going through that process.
You sure impacted that family. They won't forget you.
No, we are on the Christmas card list, which is great.
What prompted you to determine that you should approach things differently? Were there times things hadn't unfolded as effectively as you would have liked them to?
Yeah, so we had identified times where we could have done that better, or certainly been a bigger part of that process. So actually just revisiting those times and reanalyzing them and saying, well, how could we have done that better? It really just involved being more active from the get-go. But going through the planning process does identify that. It identifies what you're doing well and what you're not doing that well. So gives you opportunities to work on things.
Thanks for listening to this month's episode. If you'd like to subscribe, find us on iTunes at MDRT Podcast. See you next time.